kids or us as adult
Yeah.
are not able to connect dots, like from where it is originating and where it will end. Say
Correct.
the example of these things. So they'll print, this is recyclable, please recycle. We put it in a bag and we are guilt free that, okay, I have done my job. It will get recycled somewhere, somehow, and
Yeah.
when. Nobody is aware.
Yeah.
Nobody is aware whether it is actually recyclable or this greenwashing is sold to you.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to make our kids aware.
Hi, we are the Confident Communicator, and I am Seema Mehta, along with my partner Deepma Jadeja. Welcome to Imperfect Parenting. Together, let's get on a journey of discovering kindness, success, and happiness courageously, fearlessly, and by holding ourselves to a standard of grace, not perfection. It is our mission at the Confident Communicator to empower kids and adults discover their own uniqueness through our coaching, training, and soft skills program. We welcome you to a new chapter of Imperfect Parenting, a series dedicated to discovering our own uniqueness without judgment by chiseling away all superfluous materials within ourselves.
Hi everyone, this is Seema Mehta along with my partner Deepma Jadeja from the Confident Communicator for yet another episode of Imperfect Parenting. One of the things we do in our leadership communication program is that we discuss with our children and kind of push the idea of what is your core value? What is it that you think about? What matters? And we give them a few examples and activities where they start selecting things that are important to them. And invariably, every single time, 100%, 10 out of 10 times, people are the most important. Memories are the most important. Places are the most important. And then comes materialism. Yet we live in a world where, technology, internet, social media is pushing us away from nature. It's pushing us away from environment. And I remember growing up as a child, being part of an environmentally aware childhood was not ever discussed, but it was very normal. And today we have a very special guest who we call the Green Warrior of Bangalore. She's very well known as the Green Warrior of Bangalore, somebody I know very personally and have worked with her very closely in this particular arena, Seema Sharma. And Seema, I'd like you to introduce yourself, because I think I will be at a loss of words to kind of describe somebody like you. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Seema. It is my pleasure to be on this show. And I'll introduce myself. I am just like everybody, like Seema said, we grew up with this consciousness without any specific mention of environment, climate, anything. And then we also drift into this world of like instant gratification, doing whatever is easy and convenient for us. Yes. And then there was a point when we realized what is going on. Like especially when we moved to this community, one side we had this beautiful landscape and Spanish architecture, and other side it was loads and loads of garbage dump. So it was really overwhelming when we came to see this place. Then I started thinking, what can we do? And what is our contribution to this? Because this was like beyond imagination for me. What I saw. And then I met some like-minded people who were doing small things. First, I thought these small things, how will that matter into this huge problem? And everybody was talking about like Bangalore, which was a garden city, becoming a garbage city. So I started analyzing what I do. What are my parts which are going into this huge mountains of trash? So the first thing was like becoming self-aware. And once you are aware, then I started looking at small thing. Okay, if I take my bag to some place, it might reduce that. So this journey started like that. And then I met group of people who were self-aware, and now they wanted to do this awareness for others. They wanted to do something at city level, community level. So I joined them, and it was like a Alice in Wonderland for me, because I have never analyzed trash, garbage.
Yeah,
We just throw in a bin and we never think about it.
And I wanted to stop you for a second, Seema, because I want to sort of go back a little bit, like go back about 30 years, into our own childhood, all of us, right? If we talk about our childhood, what was normal for us? I'll talk about mine first. I saw my mother using every single thing, reusing every single thing in the house. Old newspapers, old clothes, vessels. Plastic was hardly there in our house. We barely saw plastic in our house. We recycled everything. Old newspapers were sold, old clothes were given away. They were used as pocha to clean the floor. Siblings wore, cousins were, it was passed on to cousins. Some of the practices are still on today, but that was very, very normal and accepted. Other things like, my mother, I don't think I have ever seen her go to a market without a bag. And she would only purchase the required amount, and she would bring that back home. And the same bag would go the next day or the day after. It was never about, oh, let me quickly just order something online and get it. And, we'll have bags of plastic and, boxes that kind of just increase our waste. We never saw that, right? But she never talked to us about, oh, here's me taking a cloth bag to market. It was very normal. That was our normal. I remember going in the summer to my grandparents' place in Gujarat, and we used to plant trees all the time. Not because we were trying to reduce climate change or make it cooler, because that's the way life was. It was normal. Jumping into a lake so easily. We live in a place where a lake was seen frothing and burning, and it became news in BBC in Bangalore. And I cannot even imagine our children even putting their finger into that lake. That's how bad things have become. While we constantly went to the beach, went to the lakes, ponds, jumped into it, and we had a great childhood. So what is happening that is different, that was normal then, and in 30 years, here we are, where we cannot do any of those things. It has to be done consciously, mindfully, and we need people like you to champion this. So have you guys ever experienced this in your childhood? Does it relate to your childhood at all?
Actually, mine too. I just wanted to add one quick thing before we give it to Parul to say, what can we do in order to kind of bring a little bit of that age back? One of the things I think obviously is the age of information, right? So, the world became flatter. We began seeing more of how other people did that. Otherwise, in our childhood, we came to know what people in other countries were doing. If someone in our neighborhood had some foreign relative visiting, then you'd be all gaga and you'd say, oh, in America, this is how they do it. In Europe, this is how they do it. But we weren't really, it wasn't that the information wasn't that available. The second thing that when Seema was talking about her childhood and the nostalgia that I felt was when I would walk home from the railway station, and in the hot Mumbai heat, I'd stop for a sugarcane juice on the way. And it was always served in those tiny glasses, with the ribs, the little lines. And then they'd just rewash it. I know that after I grew up and I had children of my own and started reading a lot and becoming very aware of all the diseases that were out there and how everything has to be very clean and everything, we started demanding disposable cups. Right? Because we said, I don't want a glass that someone else has drunk from, that you've just dunked in water and washed. But now I'm starting to wonder, is that what built up our immunity?
No, and you remember
having those coffee cups that, that were washed by the...
So let's talk about a simple thing like milk, right? Milk. We used to always get milk that was poured into a steel vessel. We never got milk in plastic packets, ever.
Right.
So that suddenly now there's a consciousness, there's a group of people who are opting for a bottle glass, bottles which are sanitized and then the milk comes in it. But we still see so much plastic being used because of the convenience factor. So where did this shift happen, Seema? What can you talk about? How did this normal that we had become like this conscious normal? Now we have to consciously opt
Right.
for glass bottles. We cannot go for plastic bottles. So stuff like that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can relate to what both of you were talking. And my father, his shop was very far, so he used to take lunch in the morning. He always took that tiffin box, a
The
steel
steel
tiffin
dabba,
box,
yes.
and in a cloth bag, which was repurposed, which
Yes.
used to be some old clothes. So we have grown like that.
Like
We
that.
had huge garden, and our incentive was we'll get money if we water plants or do something. So we grew up like that. Now, maybe because of accessibility, like Deepa was talking about, and following a certain thing which has set a standard for us. Like if things are happening in US this way, or people just eat and throw. So
Yes.
that has become like our aspiration to go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Whereas what we were doing, nobody's thinking whether it is right or wrong. It is just set as a standard. And most of our kids are watching, not like, if you see, most of them are watching this US, UK serials or
Yeah.
shows, and that is having a unconscious impact on their thinking, like
Yeah.
instant gratification, like, okay, they just press a button, they get the food. They don't have to worry about planning. They don't have to worry about washing or throwing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's where shift is happening.
Yeah.
And now with this, everybody's talking about climate change. So people have to really think. Whereas when we were growing up, there was no option. We are going to school, we will get in a steel box.
Yes.
We have to take it that way.
That was a way of
Even-
life. Yeah.
Yeah, even my father used to bring some snacks in the evening. It will be in that same steel dabba, which will be washed. He'll pack some snacks in that, and we used to look forward. As soon as he used to come back, we'll open that dabba expecting something.
Yeah.
We never thought, okay, it will not be hygienic, or it will be packed in a steel thing. Never. So
Or
that
even
shift has
newspaper.
happened.
You would use newspaper rather than plastic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like disposable plastic. You're right.
I just wanted to point out, some very simple example. When you were talking about, how our children are watching a lot of shows on, the OTT, all those platforms. A simple thing, like they always show somebody going into a coffee shop, ordering a coffee, taking that coffee and walking everywhere to work.
Right.
A lot of the health of people who are health conscious will say that's a terrible way to eat. When you're on the go, trying to do this on the go thing, but that has become so cool and trendy now. Carry a coffee glass or a mug or whatever in a disposable cup to go, or to take away, as it is called, and then you sit in the car and you're sipping it and stuff like that. It's become just like a cigarette smoking, right? It's cool to have a cigarette in your mouth. So I think I don't think we realize how we have normalized the wrong things. We got to normalize the right things. Like what they should ideally show is that somebody takes their own cup and gets it filled in the coffee shop and then carries it out, or sits right over there and makes a connection with another human being and enjoys that cup of coffee. But we are going the other way. That instant gratification is everywhere, in everything that we see. Right?
Yeah. So now when we talk to our kid and when we talk about these things, it doesn't look like they are doing it purposely, or they are not aware. They are saying, this is the way of life. I want to order. Swiggy is giving me in this, but I want to order. Right. So in our time, if there is one small shop, we'll take our things, dabba for even curd or milk, like you were saying. But now we have to make our kids aware that they can demand, they can ask companies to change. Seema, you might remember we had this discussion in our community, like, okay, Blinkit is sending in these bags and all. Lot of people complain, now they stopped. We have to empower our kids and tell them that it's not like whatever is dumped to you, you need to accept. There is a power in you to demand.
I love what you're saying, Seema, because the first step is to say that, to recognize and be aware that for our children, this is the norm. So first we have to recognize. So it's not their fault. It's not their fault.
Yes.
Now we have to start as parents.
And we can't make them.
Like, for example, you talked about...
And we can't tell them, don't order from Swiggy, don't do this, because that is a normal now. So we have to make them aware wherever they can avoid, but they have power to change these corporations also. So slowly what they can do in their first make them self-aware, how they can change their behavior and how they can demand things. Because if you see kids, they are very demanding. If Swiggy doesn't come in 10 minutes, they complain. They can complain for this as well. Every time they complain, it will bring impact. More people complain because they have to sell. They will sell what customer demands. So that's where we have to empower all the kids. We cannot go back to that era because it's just now world is designed.
It's a different world. Yeah. And we talk about it all the time.
Parent once, I was just remembering, I had a parent once who said, so what is like my child is doing robotics, my child is doing all these STEM classes and everything. And we offer leadership communication. And she said, but confidence and all to wo technical knowledge hoega to confidence to aa jayega. Why is it something that has to be taught? And you hit upon a very beautiful topic where you said, they have to have the confidence in themselves to demand what they know is right. And they know we are empowering them to demand that this is the right way to go. And so I will knock on enough doors until the change happens. And I think that's beautiful. That's
and ask the right question. I have seen this transformation in Parul after attending your thing. So sometimes it is too much also, but she asked a lot of questions. And it is really good. I mean, has this confidence that she is going through right path. So in fact, everything.
In fact, I think just to kind of take on what Deepma just said, which I think is very powerful, which is take somebody like Greta Thunberg, right? She is now the most known face, especially in the teenage world, as a social activist who has brought about this whole topic of climate change, and she's challenging world leaders. And she's also made it very clear that, you know what, a school-going child can also impact the environment. So that whole concept of, questioning, asking questions, having the ability to say, you know what, I have the empowering message that change is possible. Because familiarity breeds empowerment, right? It's a pattern of association. If I see something like, there's this young girl who nobody has heard of. She's not come from any place of importance, or is a child of some very big activist or a president or something. She is able to challenge the leaders of today, and she can change this message. So we can actually harness the social media and people like her to sort of impact this environmental awareness. But how can we do this without alarming our children? Because we don't want to say, you know what, look at this. The snow is melting, the water levels are receding, the temperature is going up. This is creating fear also. So how can we do this without alarming our children?
Actually, it is creating not only fear, sort of, they call it climate depression. I hear Parul and her friends talk. They are saying, oh, in next 20 years, there won't be food, there won't be this, why to do this? I mean, they are going up to that level, and it is a very known problem. So what I tell her, these small stories, because in Bangalore, we are doing a lot of things. See, composting does this. See, if we did this BYOCSELFIE campaign to make this normal, to normalize this, which was like bring your own cup, container, and take a selfie, connect it to today's world of selfies and social media, take a selfie, post it, encourage your friends. And it so happened that these companies like Chai Point and Cornerstone, they launched this campaign, they joined us. So I keep telling these stories to these kids. We started with just taking photos. We started going with this cup in a Starbucks, and Starbucks also started giving 5 rupees discount if you take your cup. So that's what I told you. If you do small things, you have power to change. If you are seeing a problem, which is very good, but you have solution, you need to think, okay, what will solve this, and what is your very small contribution?
Absolutely.
So, that's what we have to tell kids.
Creatively. Now, once you've decided what your end goal is, then think creatively, how can I do it so it's a win-win, right? You can't just sit there and say, oh, corporations should not think about profit, because they're going to think about profit. So how do we do it this way, where we kind of say, chalo, win-win. I love the 5 rupee off. I love the fact that Starbucks, Chai Point, everyone just displays those mugs.
Huh.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can bring those again and again to the store. Yeah. In fact, you were talking about Parul, who, by the way, for our viewers, is Seema Sharma's daughter, who has been part of our leadership communication program. I remember her doing during the random act of kindness episode, that when we were actually, we asked our students to perform a random act of kindness. One of the things that Parul had done was to collect books from the neighborhood, and she had gathered all these books from the neighborhood. A simple task, we gave her a very simple task. How do you perform random act of kindness? She collected used books from everybody, and then she did an exhibition. People bought the books from her, and the money was used towards charity. So I think that whole concept of, what, you want to read a book, I have it, don't go and buy it, use mine. Let's reduce the carbon footprint. So I think there are very simple ways, but we have to have the conversation. We have to start telling our children stories. We have to tell them about our childhood also. Instead of preaching, "Arey, jab hum chote the, to hum log aise karte." Instead of saying that, give them examples of what we did, which worked, and maybe you can try it too. And building, if I am walking into a Starbucks, which is a very expensive coffee, one cup of coffee is more than 200 rupees.
300 rupees.
The least I can do is show my child that, okay, here it is. I'm going to take my own mug. I'm going to carry my own bottle. I'm going to carry my own cup. And that will start becoming a new normal for them.
Yes.
I think creating the new normal is very, very important. And channelizing the social media, using examples of Greta Thunberg and all the other activists who are now joining her, is such a great way to empower our children without alarming them. So Seema, tell us about a few things that parents can do, in their own little home. Like nothing, you don't have to do big changes. Start with the small changes. So tell us about what parents can involve their children in doing.
That is one of the things that makes parents afraid. The minute we start talking now, they start thinking, "Arey baap re, abhi aur ek thing
bahut kuch karna padega.
Ye karna padega, wo, you're making my life more difficult. Why are you making?" So can we incorporate sustainability into our lives in a simple manner that will require little change, just a little change in thinking? I think that would be important to our viewers to see ke bhai ek do cheeze change karo to ho jayega.
Right. So I'll tell you, even my own kids, like when we were going to restaurant eating out, I usually carry some dabba. And initially they were like, "Mom, you're embarrassing us. Why?" For leftover food and all, because they will give in a plastic dabba and all. Initially, though, like few times they were like, "Oh my God, you don't take out those dabba out of your bag and all that." And then it became normal, because whenever we were going out, I was taking with me, and whatever food is left, I was just putting in that and bringing home. And now they ask, "Oh, do you have a box when we finish eating?" Usually, if it is left over. So this is very small thing. Carrying 2 dabbas with you, carrying a water bottle, like give your kids always a water bottle. If you are giving his snacks, give in a reusable box for school. So these are very basic things.
Ideas. Yeah. I love the dabba idea, because we always bring that brown bag home, right? So,
Yes. And you carry a bag. You can always say, "Okay, I don't need bag. I will just pack in this." And there is no additional thing into that. There is no lifestyle change. You are still going out eating. And when we are traveling also, instead of, like Seema was saying, packing and eating on the go, just make a point to sit in a restaurant, eat it. So they get this message. One, you are reducing this. Other, you have time to sit and talk.
So there are conversation.
There are always side benefit to it. Like even if they're giving that water bottle, it's clean, right? You don't know those paper cups or plastic cup who have touched, from where they are coming, from warehouse to trucks and all. So it's like sustainability always have hygiene factor, which these companies are selling this fear mongering. "Oh, if you drink that water, you will get sick. Oh, they are not washing it." And we also bought into that, right? Like you were saying, we started doing that. And in fact, last week only, I was visiting my native place, and I was noticing this. All the sugarcane juice guys were having these plastic cups. And I am taking out my cups. I always carry my cup and a box and a spoon with me. And this guy was telling, हमारे पास तो है ये disposable, why you want in that? So it has changed so much.
So much,
And
yeah.
even my cousins and all who are my age or older, they were like saying, oh, they have, no, why we have to carry? I was telling, no, all of you carry with me wherever we are going. So these are very small changes. When we are traveling anyway, we carry bag. When we go to school, we carry bag. When I go to office, I carry a bag. Just putting one cup in
It's
that is not a big
just a
thing.
mindset thing. It's just a switch in your mindset, how you're looking at these things.
Right.
Because what happens is that sometimes, you go to order something like a takeout, you go to maybe a South Indian restaurant, which is very common in Bangalore. We always carry those tiffins so that the dosa and the idli and the sambar and the chutney can have those 4 layers. Instead of taking those plastic boxes they give us. This is such a simple way of incorporating it. Putting stuff in the car, keeping things in the car. Every time you're traveling, just keep a set of boxes in the car. I mean, it's as simple as that. So there are a lot of simple things that we can do, but we have to be conscious and mindful about it. I think it has to become also, and I think that's something we try to incorporate even in our leadership communication program, where we talk a lot about, for example, goal setting, right? It's such a big thing for children. But before we talk about goal setting, we talk about purpose. So, how do you get purpose? And this purpose only comes through competence and your ethos. Your ethos is your value system and your belief system. A lot of our children's belief system is driven by the parents, right? What do you believe in is driven by the parents. So I think it becomes the responsibility of all of us who grew up in that generation of recycle, reuse, and reduce. To sort of again come back to that mode and say, listen, here are some stories I'll tell you. Here are the ways we can do it and live by example, right? So how do you now take this on a slightly higher level? So how do we do this on a community level? So we're doing it at home. How do you take it to the next level, Seema? Because I know you have been a champion in our own, we are neighbors, we live in the same community. Our community is extremely active. We are called the Green Espana warriors, and we've taken a lot of action where I would say thousands and thousands of kilos of waste now no longer leaves our gate, because we found a way to sort of keep it contained within our community and create compost. So talk a little bit about what we can do on a community level and how we can get our children involved.
So once we reach that self-awareness point, and next thing is community level, because you cannot push everyone, like be it carrying your own thing and whatever. So we tried that couple of times. Whenever some event is happening, we say, okay, bring your own bag, bring your own cup. Nobody does that. You will find all sort of people. So what kids can do, or everybody can do, in each community you find there will be few, I can bet, people who can create this cutlery bag, so that people who don't want to think, who don't want to put lot of thoughts in that part, they will not think about like using disposable. And I have talked to many people. It's not like they have bad intention that they want to create trash, or they specifically ask for disposable. When they go to these events or these lunches, whatever is available, they'll take without thinking. So we have to cater to those people also, those who become aware, create the mechanism so that what is available is sustainable. Like one example is cutlery bank. Second example, what we are doing in our community is community composting. So we did a lot of workshops and awareness on home composting. So at one point, I knew 40 homes were doing home composting, and still a lot of them are doing. But there are still those 200 who don't want to get into that.
Correct.
So for that, we have to create this mechanism at community level. Then community becomes our advantage. Because we can control a lot of things for these 250 families. We might not be able to change things drastically at ward level, city level, but community level, it becomes easier. So now people don't have to think. All we told them is segregation. Segregation is relatively easy. Still, there are some mistakes.
Still, there was a lot of resistance.
But now it has become normal in our community.
It's a way of life.
It was a pain for a month. because you kept getting complaints from people, say from the garbage people,
हाँ,
saying isme plastic aaya, isme ye aaya.
हाँ,
So you had to kind of think it through. So it was, I did it myself, and it was a pain for a month,
right.
because even I saw so many mistakes I was making. After a month, it became
It became
normal.
normal. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
became, second nature ki ek green dabba hai, ek blue dabba hai. You have to kind of, just put it
No,
in
we
one.
have this thing called
Right?
2 bins in a bag. I mean, 2 bins in a
Yeah.
bag is something everybody has. One bin
Yeah.
is for wet waste, one bin is for
Right.
dry waste, and one bag is for all the boxes
Paper.
and plastic and bottles
Yes.
and everything. And most of this waste, actually, quite a bit of this waste actually gets recycled.
Yes.
A lot of the boxes, carbon, those cardboard boxes we recycle, bottles we recycle,
Yeah.
cartons we recycle. A lot of the wet waste, which is the kitchen waste. I mean, Seema has been very actively involved in actually converting a lot of that waste into compost. The compost is used in our own community. It is also sold to a lot of gardeners. So we are actually self-sustained. In fact, I remember when I was part of the Green Espana committee, we never had to spend any money or buy, get money from the committee, because we were self-sustained. Everything that we recycled, we used. Whatever we sold, like cartons and all, we used the same money to pay the housekeeping staff or to buy material. It was very self-sustained and very self-contained. There was really no waste there. And like you said, it's become a way of life. And we are really proud that our community is now very active, kind of doing the segregation. We have even put in some kind of, we had to do some penalization also for people who are not following, because we wanted to make that the normal, and now we don't need to do that anymore because everybody sort of follows it.
Yeah.
So
that's where, and one more point I would like to bring, like kids or us as adult are not able to connect dots, like from where it is originating and where it will end. Say the example of these things. So they'll print, this is recyclable, please recycle, we put it in a bag, and we are guilt-free that, okay, I have done my job, it will get recycled somewhere, somehow, and when nobody is aware. Nobody is aware whether it is actually recyclable or this greenwashing is sold to you. So that's what we have to make our kids aware. Like Seema was talking about this frothing lake. If we take our kids, they will say that whole plastic bottles, everything is floating around. So you will see Bisleris, all the brand names displayed there. Bisleris too. This Pepsi and these juice carton boxes.
Juice Tetra boxes,
Ideally, it is recyclable, but we don't have that whole chain. So that's what we have to make them understand, that, okay, if you don't wash your Swiggy boxes, you don't put it properly, it is not recyclable. Those pizza boxes are ideally recyclable, but it is not getting recycled because you are leaving all the food crumbs and putting into that, it will go to landfill. So those connecting the dots, and there is huge carbon footprint from manufacturing it, sending to warehouse, sending to those restaurant and places, and then it comes to you. And then downside also, once you put in a bin, you are okay, your house is clean, but there are a lot of waste picker who sort it and go through that dirty, stinking waste. Then it goes to facility, divided into so many categories. So when kids get aware of this, so this is small action of just taking a plastic spoon, taking one taste thing and throwing it away, then they will know what is before that, what is after that.
Correct.
So making them aware of this, and we also become aware of this. Now I have seen a lot of adults also don't want to think about it. Everybody is busy. If you talk to them, nobody wants to think about it. So schools have to mandate this visit to dry waste collection center, to composting centers, and this has to be part of this whole thing.
Correct.
As a parent, we do, and if we preach our children, do this, do that, it will never happen. What we do, they will absorb, and then it will be like we are talking about our parents did this. So it was way of life. So
this sort of reminds me of couple of experiences that I myself have had. One was, I remember when we were going to Masai Mara, which is in Kenya, and while we were setting up the entire plan, we got an email from the organizer. And the organizer said, would you guys mind carrying your own water bottles?
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, that's a very odd request. Why would you want us to do that? But we said, okay, all of us, we were a group of 12 people. We all carried our own bottles and went there, and they said, we don't like to waste. We don't like bottles lying around everywhere, because we are taking you into a forest, into a safari where everything is very pristinely maintained, right? So we don't want to see any garbage. And water bottles is the number one waste that we see in a place like Masai Mara. And there are lots of wild animals there, right? So we were so touched by this simple gesture. How difficult is it to carry your own bottle? It's not difficult, right? So that's number one. Number two, I had gone for a trek about 6-7 years ago to one of the West Bengal Sikkim border. And it was a very tough climb. It was about 12,000 feet high, and we saw a few Tetra packs lying here and there. And our tourist guides, they were picking it up as we were walking.
Wow.
And they mentioned to me that, this is something, we actually take a trip climbing the 12,000, 14,000 feet just to pick up trash. They are so in tune with nature. They have so much respect and reverence for nature that they will not tolerate any kind of, chip packet or juice packet lying around. They will consciously pick it up. And that is something that is integrated into their psyche. And I felt like, this is such a great learning, that is this a city problem? Is this a city problem? Not so much as the interiors where people are so well connected to nature. I feel like we need to constantly expose our children to be connected to nature in a way that we start respecting it. Somewhere in the city, we are getting lost because, there are not enough trees. The temperatures are going up. Deepa mentioned how it is getting so hot in a beautiful garden city like Bangalore. The temperature is rising and we can't handle it anymore. Yet we are not connecting the dots, like you said, and saying, listen, it's because of the carbon footprint that we are creating, and we got to reduce by simple things like planting more trees, not throwing plastic bags. I have seen people driving in BMWs. Chucking a plastic bottle out of their vehicle, and it is disgusting. That it's not the problem of just a certain group of people. Everybody is equally responsible. And I think that we have to make a conscious effort to talk about this to our children, starting and even, like, for example, we employ one other example we can give is we employ so many people to work in our house, right? Teaching them about cleanliness, about recycling, like you mentioned, segregation. Segregation is not something that we knew easily, but we had to train our domestic helpers also. And what happened is, I remember beautiful feedback that I got from my helper is that I'm so used to the clean environment in your house that I have started doing that in my own house. So these things spread. And I think that getting children involved is a very empowering way of sort of spreading this word. And so do you think this is a city problem and in the interiors? But you did mention that in the interiors also, you saw people it's becoming a way of life, right?
Yeah. So I think especially you mentioned about tourist places. So we as a parent go, our main focus is have fun, take it easy. So we also look for these chips packets or juices rather than trying out local food. So that is also there. If you see Himalayas post, people will post a picture with Maggie and all those things. And there is beautiful and really nice cuisine, which is there in those Himalayas cities. So as a parent, we have to do that. Let's try local. What fruits are there? What local things are there? Because all these things are very specific to a place. Rather than, okay, we are here for adventure and fun. Our main focus is that. So we have to integrate this sustainable practices, very small things like carrying our bottle and thing, even if we are going to school or traveling. So we have to make our children aware that these places we have to take care. It's not like we are here for 4 days, we'll go back and we don't care like what happens there. We had fun, we had nice pictures and which we can post.
Correct.
So that's where I feel this connect. And in fact, we went to Hampi. There was a small interior place. They were burning so many chips packet and all. They were saying all these tourists come and throw. We don't even have a place to put
Like a
it,
landfill,
and we
yeah.
don't want to spoil this mountain. This was some Hanuman hill or something.
Yeah.
And they were saying, no, we don't trash, we just burn it here. I was like, what? How much air it is
Pollution, yeah.
polluting? But
Pollution, plastic pollution.
yeah, but they were doing what they can do
Yes.
best to avoid that trash in spreading everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where, as a parent, every point we have to think kids are watching what we can do. Small things and how we imbibe into our daily routine. Yes, we are going for fun. Yes, we are going for education. But these are the basic things we have to do, like brushing teeth or taking bath daily.
Yeah.
Should be that common.
Yeah.
So, Seema, you mentioned things like chip packets and burning those, right? There are some items that can, even if they go to the landfill, they are not going to get recycled for thousands of years. We are aware of that.
Yes.
A lot of them include sanitary pads or diapers, right?
Right.
There was an era where people used to use cloth or cloth diapers, even for cloth for menstrual purposes and stuff like that. And today we are talking a lot about menstrual cups, which will sort of replace and I'm seeing a lot of young girls actually opting for menstrual cups.
They are accepting that. Yes.
And there are movies that are being made, about this particular concept, which I think is fantastic. I think that awareness and talking about stuff like that is so important. How can we empower our children to sort of embrace, because there is a little bit of skepticism, right? That, oh God, it will hurt. So how do we build this awareness and raise this awareness so that more and more children start embracing these practices as normal?
So good thing is, because of all this climate talk, kids are aware. Second thing is, kids want something easy, fun, things like that. In our community, I have seen some teenage girls came to me, they want to do swimming, and they have heard with menstrual cup, they can swim on those days also. So we have to hit the right chord. Maybe they are not aware about, okay, they don't care about where sanitary napkin is going, but they are very much interested. If they use menstrual cup, then they can swim, they can play, they don't have to worry about those things. So whatever works with whatever age group, we have to do that. Plus here, especially mother can play a very, very crucial role, because they are still growing. They have a lot of anxiety about their body parts and all. So that's where a lot of people message me, oh, my daughter is 15, can she use a cup? So I tell them, it's up to you. If you are comfortable, then go for it. There is nothing wrong with it. And it is the best thing, because once one or two teenage girls started using, because of other reasons, they told other girls also, it's so comfortable. I don't even feel I'm having periods and all. And they don't have to worry about getting stains or changing, because you can just empty and put it
wherever. And that's a very good point that you bring up, Parul, because we're always complaining about digital media. We're always complaining about Instagram and YouTube and this and that. But I'll be honest with you, the advantages as well as the ease of a cup was explained to me by my daughter. Because the information is so easily available. I was skeptical because I had used other methods for 30 years. So I was just like, oh God, now there's one more new thing that I have to learn. And she had already done the research, and she had already talked to people her age. She had watched YouTube videos of girls her age, of very, influencers who she admired. And so automatically that helped in this situation where she watched that and she came to me and she said, Mama, it's nothing to worry about. There's 3 different sizes, blah, blah, blah. This is how we do it. And then we bought the little sanitizer thing and, life was good. And she is so happy that she doesn't have to, worry about her, the sanitary part of her this thing when she's traveling, when she's going somewhere, when she wants to swim, when she wants to work out, when she wants to skate, when she wants to go out with friends, all of these things. So digital media does help sometimes.
It does help, and I agree that a lot of these young girls are becoming the ambassadors and champions of products like these. And I think the more awareness, and I think social media is such a powerful way to spread awareness. I mean, even this show, the Imperfect Parenting, is about that. And again, going back to imperfect parenting, it is imperfect. Parenting is not perfect. And that's why we bring up topics like that, where we want parents to be aware of the mistakes that we have made so that we can help empower our own children. And like Deepa said, our children are also empowering us. So we are also learning as parents how we can imbibe very simple things to reduce, recycle, and reuse a lot of the items that we are, without thinking also and without being conscious about it. We talk about conscious parenting, but I think we need to become conscious individuals first.
Yes.
So that we can start imbibing all of these practices into our life. It isn't really that difficult. It's just about creating that mindset towards the environment, going back to our own life. I'm kind of going back to our own childhood, where nature was such an integral part of our lives. Recycling was such a big part of it, and we didn't even talk about it. It was so normal. So let's normalize this practice. Let's bring all of that, practices that we did as children, so that our kids can enjoy a healthy and a safe environment and earth. And we applaud somebody. And I have to say, I'm going to say this. Seema is an engineer. She works for a she has a technical role. That's her main career, but she's such a passionate warrior for the environment, and we applaud people like you. We would appreciate any inputs you can give, so that in our leadership communication program we will integrate this as part of the learning, because we do push a lot of the mindset, the ethos, the competence, the purpose, all of those things into our children's mind in our teaching. So this is something that we absolutely want to integrate in what we do. So thank you so much, Seema, for your time. Any last words, Seema, before we end the show?
So thanks for having me on the show, and I hope it reaches many more people. And yes, like you said, all of us are imperfect. All of us do a lot of mistakes and realize later. The sooner you start becoming aware, it will be much more easier, because once they hit teens, they have to oppose everything.
Yes.
So,
you have to normalize it early.
Yes,
I love one thing that you said, Seema, and I think that's the biggest thing that I will take away from this, is make it cool. Just make it cool to carry your dabba, to carry your, buy a pretty water bottle. Let them have a chance to choose their water bottle, to choose their dabba. The minute you make it cool, they'll tell each other. And when we tell each other, it will spread better than us telling.
Yeah, and if social media instant gratification is their way, so use that as a tool to spread awareness.
Correct.
So and make it cool. Like if they are taking that cup to Starbucks and showing everyone that, okay, I went to Starbucks, I got 5 rupees discount. Great, use that. Like whatever hits the code.
So we do those trendy hashtags. It's cool to carry a cup, right?
Okay. We started this BYOCSELFIE. So whoever is watching, take your cup or container or cloth bag to any shop or any joint and just post your selfie on whatever social media you use, Insta,
and tag
Facebook.
it. And tag it.
Yeah, and tag it. #BYOCSELFIE. So that would
BYOC.
As that was one of the reason why, BYOC selfie.
Bring your own cup. Bring your own cup selfie. So BYOC selfie.
And all the corporation which we say are hungry for profit are watching what is trending. So what you trend, that's what you will get.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's fantastic, Seema. A lot of corporations are watching and they are in tune with the trend. So let's make it trendy to be environmentally aware. Thank you so much, Seema and Deepma. And we will see you guys one more time for another episode of Imperfect Parenting. Thanks a lot.
Hashtag BYOC selfie.